We are being hypnotized by people like this. Newsreaders, politicians, teachers, lecturers. We are in a country and in a world that is being run by unbelievably sick people. The chasm between what we're told is going on and what is really going on is absolutely enormous.
Oh yeah, dude. There's some Nephilim.
It's like we all know what's going down, but no one's saying shit what happened to the home of the brave. These motherfuckers, they controlling us now, and no one's talking about how they made us modern day slaves. And everybody's just walking around, head in the clouds, and won't awaken to a dead in the grave. But then it's too late, we need to be ready to raise up. Welcome to the end of days.
Everybody is slaves, only some are aware that the government releasing poison in the
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Nephilim Death Squad. I am David Lee Corbo,
tone down the annoying,
aka the Raven. That is TopLobsta, the father of disinformation.
Hello.
Happy Rapture Eve. Before we get into the episode today, a little announcement. Sometime around the 30-minute mark, we're going to go live exclusively to patreon.com/Nephilim Death Squad. If you want to continue enjoying this episode, engaging with the live chat, gaining early access to episodes, enjoying ad-free experiences,
joining the Telegram.
We never talk about that. There's a whole community of schizophrenics out there on the NDS Telegram, and you could be one of them. You could also get early access to Bohemian Grove tickets when they drop, and we're looking at about February or March, as well as discount codes off of merchandise from TopLobsta.com. There's a lot on Patreon. We give the people a lot of stuff.
Some would say too much.
Probably too much, but they're very happy over there on Patreon.com. And check out TopLobsta.com. Ooh, Acidic Jew. It seems timely.
Why?
I don't know. It's just a lot of Jew talk, isn't there?
No, there's Rapture talk. I mean, but
there's Rapture talk. There's Jew talk. That's kind of the same thing. You can get your acidic Jew shirt and you could wear that and see if Jesus takes you.
I don't like
with
how
him.
This is going so far. Let's bring the
Do you
guest.
think that Jesus will take you with him if you're wearing that when he shows up?
He's not taking the shirt.
He's gonna go. You got to leave that behind.
The shirt,
Isn't that part of it?
The
though?
shirt stays
left behind. Joining us today is Jeremy. Jeremy, before we get into the conversation, let's tell everybody a little bit about what it is you do and where they can find your work.
Okay, so I'm a tattoo artist by trade. You can follow my tattoo page at Jeremy Lifsey Tattoo on Instagram. I also do stand-up comedy. I've been tattooing for almost 30 years, so I can do just about any style. And I started tattooing on Hollywood Boulevard in Los Angeles in the early 2000s, the golden era of tattooing. Yeah. That's my wife.
Work, man. I'm upset that you're leaving the area. You're local to us, and too little, too late. It seems you're getting out of here in like 2 weeks, right?
No, 2 months.
2 months. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
That's my wife. She actually worked with Charlie Kirk for a while.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
whole world.
Her name's Joy Villa. She wore a.
I know Joy Villa.
Yeah, she wore the Trump dress to the Grammys in 2000. She's been waking up. I've been waking her up to some really crazy in the last 2 years since we've been together. So
it's a wild time for people to kind of start paying attention. You mentioned,
you know who she is.
I do.
Now that I see the picture, yeah, that's Joy Villa. Yeah, this girl. What was the dress that she wore?
Make America Great Again. She wore it in 2017 and to the Grammys, which we've been friends for 17 years. And
I know who she is. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's my wifey. Maybe we could all meet up before we leave, get lunch or something. She's a very interesting individual too.
Well, we'd have
what
to,
is she? What? All right, let's. I mean, before we get into, because I guess we scheduled this a while ago. We had to actually cancel for I forget whatever reason. Reschedule.
You were going somewhere or something.
Yeah, we were traveling. Where did we travel? Oh, it was me. I was traveling to.
You were going to New York.
Yeah, New York. Yeah.
Right. So what do you think about this? Because it feels like you might be a little closer to the situation than
I'm going to give you a few takes on it. Okay, my first initial instinct was JFK assassination.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't remember that JFK took one in the He leaned over, his wife grabbed him, and they blew his. The significance in that is, and I think they used probably 2 different caliber rifles for JFK, because if you saw what the second did to his head, why didn't it do that to his? And I think why they shot JFK in 2 places was because JFK was speaking out against the Mossad, the Federal Reserve, secret societies, all that. So they took his voice, but he was also the king of America at that time. So then they removed his crown on top of it. Charlie Kirk, who was, and look, I'm not into right-wing propaganda. I just prefer to hang out with conservatives over liberals at this point, right? I grew up in Los Angeles back when Democrats were actually conspiracy theorists, and they were a little bit, they're crazy now. But with that being said, I also don't trust the right-wing establishment. And I've been to Mar-a-Lago. I've shaken Trump's hand down in the Trump Road golf course. My wife got us to the inaugural balls. They paid her to sing at the inaugural balls this election term. And in the last few months, I always said I liked Trump because I'm a comedian. You guys can follow my comedy page at Jeremy Lifsey Comedy as well. And I liked Trump because he's funny, right? But I also said the guy's name is in a 5-pointed star on Hollywood Boulevard, so he's probably worshiping fallen angels. Sure. But he's better than frickin' Biden, who's sniffing kids in public, right?
Right.
The whole Charlie Kirk thing is like, I just feel like it was a Mossad hit, and you got all these based Gen Z conspiracy theories about, oh, it's all theater, and it's like, no. Trump's, in my view, Trump's assassination was theater. And I hope, and I don't really give a, like I always say, like, I hope that I say doesn't get my wife in trouble, but my wife has been waking up to a lot of things lately too. And I started warning her 5-6 months ago. I don't trust Trump. I think we're going to find out some about him in the near future. Next thing you know, he's covering up Epstein. Now he's hanging out with Bill Gates. He's trying to pass all these hate speech laws to protect it. And my wife is starting to see it too.
Hey, Jeremy, before I agree with everything you're saying, but can you, whatever you do with your headphones, microphone, can you do that again? Because we're getting the clipping.
What's going on?
Whatever.
What about this? Is this working? I think I hit the wire. Is this better?
Try, actually, you know what? Maybe he should just try refreshing his browser.
Yeah, refresh
That's
the browser.
A good move.
Come right back, but
and we'll keep it going. Just pop right back in the room. Yeah, just hit the refresh button. So, I kind of like everything he's saying already, though. That idea that, like, I agree. I don't think the Charlie Kirk thing is theater. I know a lot of people are leaning towards this idea that he has been, that his death has been faked. I don't think that it's been faked. Although there is some weird, the more you look at that weird Valhalla move,
I put this here behind me yesterday just to show people.
Oh, 30
yeah. This is like, I fire this, fairly commonly.
That's a big.
This goes through a neck.
Yeah.
This goes through an elk shoulder, not just like a.
That'll go through a fucking moose.
Yeah. So Jeremy, I agree. There's a lot of people that are saying that they don't think that he died, that it is theater. And what I will say is, to put a couple of coins in their pocket, this idea that, Valhalla is a place that people in the witness protection program go to, and it's an island that happened to be on the screen of this shooter in a photo that he took in his dormitory. And then you look at what Kash Patel is saying, and he's going, I'll see you in Valhalla. So there is some weird stuff. I'll give them that. I don't want to take that away from people.
Tons of weird
stuff. There's a ton of weird stuff. And so, but I think likely
but
he
you know
was
what
shot.
It is, though? Not Israel.
Well, that's the thing that everybody. So now it's like if you,
it could be anything.
And look, I am of the school of thought that if what's his name, Nick
Fuentes.
If Nick Fuentes says it, then it has to be true. So Nick Fuentes is saying that it wasn't, had nothing to do with it.
Listen,
so I think that's off the table.
I don't know if you know, but on this show we cater to authority. So
we cater to authority. Correct.
Whatever General Flynn says, this
Yeah.
is the narrative that
God
we
bless America. God
Hey,
real
the plan, guys.
trust the plan. God
Yeah.
bless General Flynn.
and screw you for not.
Right.
How dare you?
But now that we've got that out of the way, this show is brought to you by. I think that it's ridiculous that
Shalom.
Let me ask you this,
Makore.
Jeremy. We've been following this. We've been following this. Our audience is pretty primed for this conversation.
Jeremy, you going to be around in February?
Man.
No, we're leaving in November. Late
All right,
November.
then you could take a plane back.
All right. Well, we'll have to. Either way, we'll have to meet up though before he leaves. So our audience is pretty primed with this topic. I want to ask you about the way that it feels like there are breadcrumbs being left that point to, and it almost feels as though themselves, the government, Netanyahu, rabbinic, whatever, are leaving those breadcrumbs. And does this point to like that accelerationism that they engage in because it's all based on prophecy? Their Moshiach is coming. They got to speed this up.
I think they want the world to turn against them. That is part of their prophecy. I think I've been saying this for a long time. The world is ran by cults, and unfortunately, the top cult is the most homicidal and psychopathic and manipulative. And it's just like in prison, it's full of criminals. The nastiest criminal is the one who winds up becoming the shot caller. And I think, yeah, sure. Like what is it? Ordo de Chaos,
Yeah.
And I think all kinds of things. And then we might be in a simulation. I don't know. Like, so it's like, everything's going to appear in our reality to satisfy our worldview or whatever. But I personally, if I was going to guess what's happening with Charlie Kirk, people are showing these pictures of Charlie Kirk doing this, or he could have been imitating Trump at that point. It's just like, show me 10 or 15 pictures of him doing that, and I'll believe that he was a member of a secret society. Now, some people could say, oh, Jeremy, your wife is Joy Villa. We were living in a studio apartment 2 years ago in Ocala in a hole, Roach Motel. And so it's like, my wife isn't connected. I doubt Charlie Kirk was connected. I think his wife was connected, potentially, because she worked for Trump's beauty pageants, and I think her family members are. So, and I think it's really weird that they're doing all these speeches. Maybe not. Maybe she's a grieving wife. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, and I don't think I should be a bad guy for questioning all this.
No,
but
we're allowed to ask, right?
Yeah. And I did, and just so like, it's like people can be like, oh, you're a piece of shit. It's like, I created a Charlie Kirk shirt because I truly believe, out of all of the people that are like on camera all the time, that was one of the good ones right there. And the reason why I think that is because I think you'll know people, and I don't think most people in front of the camera are good ones. But I think people by the fruits they bear. What was Charlie doing? He was traveling the country, speaking to kids that were sick and mentally sick, and he was trying to wake them up. I didn't agree with all of his Zionist, and I was honest about that. I used to get pissed off when he would talk about that stuff, but I do believe he believed in Jesus. I do believe that he was trying to wake people up. I don't think he was a racist. He got more camera time than almost any of these right-wing mouthpieces, and I never once saw him disrespect anybody. So again, you will know the people by the fruits they bear and their symbolism, and I just don't think I think Charlie Kirk did what JFK did. He spoke out against his the people, his funders, rather, the people that bankrolled him, and he did it one too many times, and he took a for it. And
certainly what it looks like now, we're sitting here in the wake of this funeral memorial that they had yesterday, and it's become this really polarizing event. And I saw something really interesting. I thought it was a wild thing given the size and scope of the lens that was on this event. So that thing being Tucker Carlson is on stage. He's talking about the and Jesus Christ speaking up against the power structure. Eventually, they come to the conclusion maybe it would just make more sense to kill this guy. And he's making these allusions to. It's obvious. I mean, he doesn't say it, but it's very obvious that
I'm trying to be super careful not to, because what Jeremy just said is correct too. I don't agree with this being a simulation, but I do think that everyone is looking at something, and you're gonna, like, with this assassination, you're gonna get what you want from this.
Okay,
it's crazy.
So simulation, but like let's say it's not a simulation. It's groups of collective consciousness creating timelines or reality. Does this make sense?
Yeah,
You know, like we're all thinking this way.
And find that. It's the one where Tucker Carlson's talking on stage.
No, the reason I just push back on simulation is because I think it's rudimentary. I don't think ones and zeros like a computer, like we're playing Doom. But for sure, this realm is made up of frequency, which is just numbers in the end.
Yeah.
And then like there's like when you look at numerology, the stuff that kind of runs it like in veins, like, you know, it took us 33 hours to find the shooter. It's like, okay, like I don't even know if that's on purpose anymore or if this is just how things line up.
I think it's
theory
both.
and Schrodinger's.
It could be both. Yeah.
The idea of like Schrodinger's cat, right? That like, you know, a quantum theory that entails our attention or focus changes the outcome of a thing or determines the outcome of a thing. That, I mean, to me seems pretty real. I think I sent it to you just in your personal ones. I just want to play this for the audience because if there it is, boom. If you haven't seen this, this is like, it's 55 seconds. It's worth watching the whole thing. And I know it's a little bit of a departure from the conversation, but I think it's important for people to see this. So we've talked about this for a long time. The idea that like Jew noticing was going to come to the forefront. It was going to enter. It was going to leave Twitter. It was going to leave X. It was going to enter the everyday conversations.
It's funny too because this guy ushered in the Nephilim speak,
and we've been
as well.
I'm glad that we've remained skeptical. I mean, of all the base takes that Tucker Carlson has, we've always remained highly skeptical and always said, you know, he's got a little Kabbalah bracelet. He's, you know, kind of a player on the stage.
CIA, like
CIA.
He didn't know his dad was CIA, guys. Can you relax about that? Here, let's let her rip.
That could be possible. I don't know.
And it actually reminds me of my favorite story ever. So it's about 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem, and Jesus shows up and he starts talking about the people in power, and he starts doing the worst thing that you can do, which is telling the truth about people, and they hate it. Just go bonkers. They hate it, and they become obsessed with making him stop. This guy's got to stop talking. We've got to shut this guy up. And I can just sort of picture the scene in a lamplit room with a bunch of guys sitting around eating hummus, thinking about what do we do about this guy telling the truth about us? We must make him stop talking. And there's always one guy with the bright idea, and I can just hear him say, I've got an idea. Why don't we just kill him? That'll shut him up. That'll fix the problem.
First off,
what a cackle, dude.
I something about it I love, even though this is like theater, but let's finish that.
That's it. I think it just ends there. Dude just lets out a disturbing cackle.
It's not disturbing.
Wait, go back to his laugh one more time.
Okay,
Grab that last few seconds. Look at his laugh. It's a silly laugh. It's a forced laugh.
It's not even forced.
I think it's forced. I don't think. Look at him. Look
We'll
at him.
fix the problem.
Jeez, man.
It's almost like tickled beyond his
or
ability
it's not
to stop.
forced. I don't know.
Well,
It
dude,
looked
when
forced.
when I say the story too,
yeah,
like, okay, like, so there was a guy who was banging his girlfriend, boyfriend,
yeah,
but in
sure,
a place,
that's a silly.
in an apartment that they never stood at, and then he got on the roof despite drones and and whatever.
But the text message conversation,
but and then there's text messages, and then then he shoots this, and then he shoots this, but it doesn't go through. And because he's Superman, and because he's got a real thick neck.
He's got a thick neck. And that is also like we're doing magic theory now, JFK style.
Yeah.
But they found him in 3 hours. It makes me want to go, like, doesn't it? A little bit.
Maybe a little bit. It does make you want to go crazy.
I feel crazy.
What do you think about that, Jeremy?
Well, it's where I had this thought because, and I'm sure you guys may have considered this before, but we know there's multiple secret societies. And I've often wondered like I broke down the theory about how presidents and leaders of nations are basically essentially mob bosses of boroughs all over the world, and that there's one Don but a bunch of capos. And I just wonder if we're like witnessing multiple secret societies battling with each other, like, because it's like, it's really weird because like if you look at like Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens, and I think they're operatives personally, but the Catholics are always hating on the, and the Jews are always hating on it, or Islam, and it's like all these groups are like at each other's throats. And I've always said, like, evil has no loyalty to anyone, least of all to itself. So I'm like, are all these guys just like, are they battling like a bunch of mafiosos? Because like back in the day in New York, they would, and the street gangs do it all the time too. They'll set up false flag operations so that they can collect rent from the community. Oh yeah, you got to pay us, or I can't stop you. Stop Frankie from coming in here and smacking you around. He doesn't work for us. So I don't know. It could just be a bunch of chaotic secret societies vying for position, and then they have specific rules they got to follow. You're not allowed to kill a made man. Tucker's dad is CIA, or I don't know, bro. But I just don't. That. I don't know that. I don't think that Charlie was a made man. I think he was a mouthpiece for a bunch of made man. I think he started realizing some things were going on, and we all know that members of secret societies can get touched too. And as far as that goes, the greater the better reward in their eyes. I mean, the Canaanites and all these people were their children, so you don't think they'd a fellow brother if that's what Charlie was, but I don't think he was.
I find it interesting too, like that this is usually like the slitting of the, because you want to bleed it out and then you'll burn it. But I mean there's no really burnt part here, but the slitting of the, we're seeing that often, or at least the death by, from George Floyd to Irina the 2 weeks before, Charlie Kirk. And, even JFK, like that was like exit wounds or entrance wounds to his neck as well. It's like something very significant about that. And we should be paying attention to, well, what comes next? Because this is the church that we go to. This is a Christian show. The church that we go to.
Oh, yeah. Shout out Pastor Rick.
Yeah, shout out Pastor Rick. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, they nailed, they don't, he's like, we got to support it, all this stuff. But he nails the significance of the moment. He's like, something happened here. Whether you're left, right, in between, don't even know who this guy is, you've got to pay attention to the significance, the grandiosity of the moment.
Yeah.
There's that's being replayed on the world stage. To have
a company called Turning Point too is like, dang,
the shirt nails it. Can you pick it up again?
Yeah, the shirt does nail it. It's
yeah.
It's got a poetry about it that's just this is the turning point. Yeah, 100%, man. And
yeah, my wife and me created it like a couple days after he died.
It's a great shirt. It's a great design, and I think it nails the sentiment, right on the head. Because
even did you put him as Superman on purpose?
That was her idea.
It's interesting because now Fox News is running with the he was Superman with the like for their magic narrative, and I'm using it as almost like a joke. Like I don't want to joke about Charlie in that way, but I'm like, guys. Like, what are you telling me right now?
Yeah.
You telling me that because he ran? I know he was a runner. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, that made a steal. Well, that didn't.
Well, you got all the spec ops, Navy SEALs, Marine recon snipers, like blowing that theory out of the water. Like, like you said, I grew up shooting 30-odd sixes and guns with my dad. My dad's a hunter, and it's like, yeah, there's no way. I don't give a shit what fairy tale world do you live in. Half of his neck should have been blown out. You know what I mean? Yeah. But
it hasn't stopped people from running in that direction though, which is kind of wild. I was surprised to see how far that idea got. But you want to talk about a turning point and what happened here and where we're going. After this funeral last night, his wife, she chooses to forgive the shooter, and you can, say whatever you want. about his wife, but that sentiment of forgiving is obviously it's crucial to following Jesus Christ. And
I think it's crucial to her too. Like there's a lot of people giving her slack. The forgiveness isn't for that guy or
it's for
whoever did
her.
it. That's for you. Yeah,
dude.
You can't hold that.
Are you kidding me?
That.
Though that level of resentment and it's an acid.
Poison.
It eats through you. But what that's done now is it's created this larger conversation on X about how this is basically you rolling over and showing your belly. This is why white people are victimized in America in the West. And basically that this entire tenet needs to be thrown out. And I'm like, that's fascinating. And so what's happening now is there are like some Christians that are like, I agree, but they're agreeing, the people that they're agreeing with are like actual white nationalists. And even within that movement, the white nationalist movement, there's paganism, which is fascinating. So I have seen people who espouse paganism saying that Christians need to do X, Y, and Z. They need to stop this forgiving crap. And then you watch that go viral to the tune of millions. And it's like, so it's resonating with them. I'm like, that's really interesting. So we're going to get some version of Christian nationalism out of this, it seems. And this is kind of where we thought things were heading. Christian nationalism that is not actually Christianity. It's more of a response to white erasure.
And that's a Jewish thing too. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, and I know a lot about their lineage, and crazy about all that. It's like the black cube they're wearing on their head, and then their wrist. Hey, mark of the beast, son, seed of the serpent, and the tribe of Dan, which was the tribe of serpents out of the 12 tribes, and you can look at the Danish, the Vikings, and how they had the serpent on their ship with the red stripes down their mast back in the day when they were ancient merchants. You can look at the Phoenicians, the merchant ships, the Finnish, the serpent on the merchant ships with the red stripes, and the Venetians, which are Italians, and how it's really odd that the Vatican sends the Italian mob over to America, and you could have Irish hitmen, but they could never be made men. But if you're Meyer Lansky or Bugsy Siegel, you can be made men. And some say that Meyer Lansky was actually running an Epstein-style operation back in the day, and that's how they blackmailed J. Edgar Hoover into being able to take the shot on JFK. I mean, there's photos of J. Edgar Hoover with Shirley Temple sitting on his lap. Clearly, that celebrity thing from back in the day. You have, when I found out about the tribe of Dan, I was reading the Bible a couple weeks ago, and I was reading the tribe, and I thought, what, the tribe of Dan, serpents? And I thought, oh, the Tuatha De Danann of Ireland, and St. Patrick chasing the serpents out of Ireland, and there's no snakes in Ireland. So then I looked that up because I have weird epiphanies here and there. Like one time, it must have been like 8 years ago, I'm in Washington, and I was like, damn, communism is like a satanic political ideology. So I typed in Karl Marx and Satanism, and like 8 books about Karl Marx and Satanism came up. But I had this epiphany about the Tuatha De Danann the other day, and St. Patrick chasing the serpents out of Ireland. Well, lo and behold, there's a big thing about the tribe of Dan and the Tuatha De Danann. And so I just think, like, you have the Rothschilds and the Windsors. The Rothschilds are Jewish, the Windsors are Germanic, and then they somehow create the state. And it's like this group of people constantly creating polarities. We have the Democratic and the Republican Party, the Red Lodge and the Blue Lodge of Masonry, and they're constantly creating this struggle. And like, we might even just be seeing it now with all this Charlie Kirk, like all these different polarizing theories. And, you know, it's just like, they just got to keep us divided and fighting. And that's what I think, like at the top of like all these cults and these secret societies, they're all fighting too.
Yeah, it certainly is like obviously it's the turning point, but we needed a catalyst. We've been calling this for a long time. We're saying like there's going to be obviously be a hard swing back to right wing, whatever you'd like to call it, whether it be authoritarianism or just like we're swinging back hard. This was the catalyst. Seems like whenever they do these kind of things, these drastic sways back and forth, there needs to actually be some sort of a blood ritual in order to move us
100.
to the next thing. It's bizarre saying it, right? Because I was just a political guy. I was just like, I came from like the libertarian sphere, so I'm like straight politics before, and now I'm like, why does it always have to be some weird esoteric following a major change in culture, politics, whatever?
I mean, I think you're right. And I think it was not necessarily like you need to talk about the chicken or the egg. Was it Charlie that caused a cultural shift? Or really what it's like is, you know, I've been looking for that rocket that they're going to strap to the natural progression of the pendulum swing. And I think that's kind of what it is. It's like if, you know, when you're pushing your kid on a swing and he's going down and you push him hard to give him some extra, you know, elevation there. It's like that kind of a move. I want to get your thoughts on that, Jeremy, this idea of the pendulum swinging. But before we
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Before we do, we got to kick out these poor people, guys. If you're watching and you want to continue, it's not nice. I guess you're right. Watching, you can do that at patreon.com/Nephilim Death Squad. Otherwise, just wait a little while and the episode will release in its entirety. Also, by the way, guys, if you're listening on YouTube and you go, how come all the words are bleeped out? It's because that's the only way we could exist on YouTube. So if you want uncensored versions, Rumble's good for that. But so is Patreon.
It's a lot of work, but
we have to hide from the... Okay.
That'll be bleeped out.
That'll be bleeped out. All right. So this idea, Jeremy, that the pendulum was going to swing and there were those who were banking on it swinging and then augmented that natural swing that was going to take place. Do you think that that's what we're watching here?
So have you ever heard of a guy named Jason Bershears from Archaics?
Oh, Archaics. Yeah, we were going to have him on. And then he was like, I think he basically said Jesus never existed or something like that.
No, he said, talk to my booker. And we were like, that's simply too much work.
Oh, yeah,
we're
maybe
talking
that's
to
what
you
it
right
was.
now.
Yeah, he said, talk to my booker. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like with anybody I watch, like, you know, I take what I can. And
of course,
sometimes I don't agree. And when I discovered Jason, I wasn't a believer. And a lot of the things he said kind of shaped a lot of things because I would listen to his shows and then I would be researching and trying to confirm, is this guy lying? And he just kept being correct. So he said about 2 or 3 years ago that we're going to watch it go from far left to hard right. And people are wondering how I know this because he does these isometric projections. He says a lot of what he does is the same things that Nostradamus did, and that's how Nostradamus was able to make these predictions. And I think it's like you see an event, and then you go backwards on the event to the last biggest event, and then you go forward on the event to the next biggest event. I'm talking about you go through history, and you look at that, and you should be able to do that with current times. And in the past, there's great minds that said, yeah, if you want to know the secrets of the present, look back to the past. And I totally agree with that. But Jason was one of the first people that I heard say that we're going to watch it go from the far left to the far right. And people are going to do crazy. And I haven't forgot that because I believed it. When I listen to things, if a bomb goes off in my solar plexus, it usually happens. When I heard about Agenda 21 17 years ago, 16 years ago, a bomb went off and then happened. And I was like, I started my podcast and said, this is Agenda 21. They're coming next. A bomb went off in my stomach when Jason said this. I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago. It must have been about 3 years ago. And I've been saying this to my wife. I've been rainbow pilling her. I don't like the term black pill. And she's been waking up to a lot of things that I've been saying, and she's been distancing herself from the political arena for a while now, but she's really been doing it a lot lately. And
that must be tough for her. Like, not to
because she was so close.
I get, you're close to it. She's also like doing when you're getting a main stage on on politics, right-wing politics, even left-wing politics, it's hard not to like keep feeding that.
Yeah, you
know?
get celebrated.
She was on a trajectory a few years back, I don't know, around 2017, 18, where they were paying her $5-10 grand a speaking engagement, and she was on a trajectory, and she was even thinking about running for some type of political office. And then she just had this epiphany, because she's been, her father was a preacher, but he was a weird preacher. He wasn't one of these scribes and Pharisees in the churches nowadays. She had an epiphany and said, I can't do this. Like, I don't want to be in this division anymore. So she took off to South Africa for a year. And then a lot of the political stuff stopped coming her way, and she moved out. And I think partially the only reason why she kind of had a reemergence back into it a little bit this time, which it hasn't been big. She hasn't been doing speaking engagements. She's done little things here and there. And most of it has been financial stuff. And, but like I said, man, my wife has been waking up to things. She was a Scientologist for a long time. She had an epiphany 8 months ago about that. She came out, she started writing a book, because they all told her, oh, you can be a Christian and a Scientologist.
No, you can't.
And well, so check this out. So me and her met 17 years ago at Universal Studios in Los Angeles. And we were doing background work because it was slow for tattooing back then. And I saw her and I was like, ooh, tall, curvy, and Carmelie, go say something funny. And so I did. And then she turned around and said something funny back to me. And subconsciously, I've always interpreted humor as intelligence. And I was like, well, even if you and this chick don't bang, she's a cool chick. She's funny, right? And I don't think, I don't think most chicks are funny. Some of them are. And
That's
those chicks are usually really
statement.
fucking
How
funny.
haven't we met before?
This
Jeremy?
is like the least controversial thing you've said on the show so far.
So we became friends, and I tattooed her, and we just were friends for like a year and a half, and then we had this little fling. Before, because I've lived all over the country, and I was about to move to Hawaii, and we had this little fling, and after we had hooked up a couple times, she's like, hey, I want to take you somewhere, will you go with me? And it's a Scientology thing. I was like, yeah, I'm not really into cults. It's not a cult, this and that. And I didn't say nothing at this point. I was like, all right, cool, let's go. So she takes me, and I'm in there, and I'm like looking at the office, and we're talking, and then we wind up hanging out again like a couple days later. And I told her, I was like, dude, yeah, I'm not joining that cult. She's like, I told you it's not a cult. And I was like, I don't give a shit what you told me. L. Ron Hubbard was a Satanist. His own son said he was a Satanist. He was a studier of Alistair Crowley, who was known as the Beast.
Alistair Crowley literally warned Jack Parsons about L. Ron Hubbard.
Alistair Crowley. He was like, this guy's a piece of Alistair Crowley was
L. Ron Hubbard was way bigger of a piece of shit than Alistair Crowley could have ever been.
That's crazy.
Right? Like, look at all this shit there is going on around the country right now. So I warned her, dude, these guys are doing moonchild rituals. His own family is talking about him. Like, Scientology is not good. And she didn't want to hear it. And she said to me 8 months ago, she's crying in bed next to me. She had been getting out of Scientology right around the time we got together, but she had still maintained some ties. And then she had the epiphany 8 months ago, and she's crying in bed to me. She's like, you were the only person that warned me 18 or 17 years ago. And I was like, yeah. And I've been trying to wake my family up to, dude, 9/11, bro, it was just two odd little things that woke me up. I didn't know about conspiracies. I was like, we've never had one plane hijacked, but they got 4. And a president is reading to children in a school. I didn't know what they were saying. I didn't know about the book. I didn't know about none of that. I just thought, this is a theatrical setup to get us into war.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't know what they were saying. I didn't know about the other 200 things in the documentaries that came out a year later. I was just like, it's making this scumbag that just robbed the 2.5 million a week ago look like he cares about America's children, and these guys are evil terrorists. And now this is going to justify us going to another brown skin nation and taking their. And that's what happened.
2.5 trillion. Just to
2.5 trillion. If you and me are missing 2.5 thousand on our taxes, what happens?
It's a problem.
Right?
Arrested.
And so it was those two weird little minute details. And you could ask my family. I'm screaming at my family 2 days after 9/11, telling them how it's an inside job. And then a week later, I'm telling this to my friend, and she's like, "You've never heard of David Icke or Alex Jones or William Cooper?" And I was like, "No, who the f are those guys?" "You're a conspiracy theorist. You should check them out." And so I literally a week after freaking 9/11, I just started cramming my head with every tidbit of information I could find. And
would you say that like that driving of you crazy leads you into some sort of like I don't do stand-up comedy, but I was a little bit more in the comedy realm, I'd say, because got to take the edge off in a way.
I gotta say something, bro, and I'm just gonna say it on your show, dude. I'm really bummed that they didn't have me open for Sam, because I had spoke with one of the owners about a couple weeks before, and I was like, "Hey, I used to do t-shirts for Sam, and he knows I do stand up. I've done stand up with him."
You talking about the joke joint?
Yeah,
dude,
and I love Alex.
You gotta talk to us.
You gotta talk to us.
It's literally our event. We orchestrated the entire thing.
It's like. We got Sam to come down. We got Owen to come down. We got everybody there.
Yeah, we're the guys that paid them.
We didn't know who you were. Like, I would have had you.
Bro,
that's
if
what
you
I was
guys
asking.
see, bro, I'm not saying this to suck my own, even though it feels wonderful.
Do it, man.
But so much of my comedy is conspiracy, bro. It's like
that's exactly what we were looking for.
I just wrote this bit. I was like, so I got a lot of people asking me about the new Pope because he's American. And I'm like, it's fine. America has just as much right to traffic children for the Catholic Church as the Italians and Nazis do.
I agree.
But I have so much conspiracy. Like, Alex, why didn't you throw me up?
No, Alex had zero input except for Hollywood.
In Alex's defense, Alex is a little bit of a retard.
Here's
the thing,
yeah.
And I hope Alex is watching. Alex has no clue. When we're talking about conspiracy, he's like,
he has no idea,
completely clueless. Like, I'm trying to guide him through it, and I'm like, no, this isn't for the first Bohemian, the second Bohemian Grove. He was like, the night's a little bit short, so afterward, I'm gonna have a bunch of
holy.
And your crowd will like that. And I was like, no. There's different types of conspiracy.
Our crowd does not like that's specifically the thing that really bums them out, actually.
Not unless they're 8 beers deep.
Yeah, listen,
they were, and they still all left. Like, literally, the crowd cleared out.
He's like, "What's the matter, Lobsta? I thought they loved this."
And then he kept getting mad. He's like, they're drag queens. I'm like, he was getting very upset.
I only like drag queens if it's during story hour.
If they're gonna read a story, that's a different.
Yeah,
look, I would love to have you at the next one. I mean, you're moving to Austin, or where are you going? Austin.
Yeah, I'm going to Austin because I grew up in L. What's that?
I said, isn't it in Austin now?
So I'll tell you what. So I'm never going to stop tattooing. I've gotten really good at it. It's got me to live all over the country and travel a few places around the world. But comedy, I've done stand-up and a little bit of stand-up, a few open mics in New York. I've done a few open mics in LA. And I did a few open mics when I was in Austin. I signed up for Kill Tony. I didn't get on. But the comedy scene in Austin is going to be more embracing of my type of comedy, right? Like, it's like people were laughing.
Oh, definitely when the pendulum swings fully. Yeah. Right now it's prime real estate. It's fertile ground.
I'm in Florida, and bro, I'll send you last night's set, and I'm murdering in places, and they still won't book me in some spots because even in these conservative places, they're politically correct. So I'm just like, I was like, dude, this, like,
Jeremy.
I'm over here crushing. And dude, they had what's her name, Leonardo Joni the other night, and Quinn Dale, and they didn't. I was just like, dude, these guys are like my kind of humor. Like,
did they know you? Does she know you?
Yeah, Leonardo Joni headlined for our last Bohemian Grove.
She headlined for, dude. You reached out to us just simply too late, Jeremy.
Yeah, literally.
She opened. She was our headliner for the second Bohemian Grove. So yeah, she was just in Orlando and just in Ocala, I think last week.
I saw her in Ocala the other day, and I was like thinking, I'm like, And the guys that opened, they're friends of mine and they're cool, but it's just like, you guys are safe comedians. Like, why wouldn't you throw a controversial person like me up that talks about wild, crazy?
Because you're not on Twitter saying
you got to be on. Yeah, dude. Like, you just came across our radar. I don't even know how you came across our radar.
I think
but
it was
we
like
should've-
Instagram or
I
something.
It was
should've known who
Paranoid
you were.
Radio.
Thank
I
you.
did a
Paranoid.
podcast
Shout out
on the
Paranoid. Love
Millennial
that guy.
Reign with him.
Yeah, dude, I should have known who you were before. There's just sometimes we just don't. Like, I didn't know who you were, but now we know who you are, and you're leaving, which is unfortunate.
That is unfortunate. Well, you have to make your way back. We'd gladly have you at the next one. Like I said, it's going to be in like
But,
February or March.
Like we were saying,
Oh,
like
yeah.
we came to Florida. I've been here for 3 years or so, and we're figuring out that like it's not really the right wing haven that we thought. That Bohemian Grove wasn't supposed to be at Alex's spot.
Oh yeah, it wasn't supposed to be at the
that
Joe
was
Joy.
supposed to be at a theater in Leesburg.
Yeah, I heard you guys got canceled out of the theater because of Owen Benjamin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. They wanted us. They said, get rid of Owen Benjamin and you can keep doing it
But-
here. We said, go f yourself.
Realistically, it was right wing, left wing politics.
That's what it was,
That's what drew the line.
Yeah.
And Owen Benjamin was the deciding factor. They would have rather not had us there to begin with. But
Yeah.
yeah,
They
it's
found a reason.
it's more pervasive than you think. But I think things are changing.
I think so. Yeah.
I
And,
think
yeah.
okay, so this is what I think as like an insider with comedy and shit, and going up in front of liberal, like bro, going up in Gainesville in front of liberal crowds and saying like, hey, let me ask you guys a question. I don't like to get political at a comedy show, but does anybody in here think Michelle Obama got her sucked at a Diddy party? And like the horror on these liberal races, right? And just this did I say is like my comedy is like Andrew Dice Clay in the 80s now. And it's like people are like, I had people trying to, hey, you're a little too controversial. You should try and write this and that. And at one point I almost thought about stopping doing comedy. And then I powered through this. It was a 2-month painful thing. And I was like, this, the left took over comedy for the last 15 years and policed it, and the conservatives have been following in their footsteps. And now I have this feeling that comedy like mine is gonna explode in the next year.
Well, you better get out there. And I'm
That's why I'm
giving you
going to Austin, because I can't do it in LA or New York because it's so left, and I won't be able to work or even do open mics at certain clubs. But in Austin, I don't think I'm going to get big or famous or anything. Maybe I'll get a spot on Kill Tony or some more people will know, and I might get asked to do more openings or something like that. But I'm going there to throw myself into the Gladiators arena because all that stage time, I've only been doing it for 2 years, and I'm already starting to I'm a quick learner, bro. I'm a student of any craft I study.
Well, I'll give you a little inside baseball. It's not really what we talk about on this show, but I'd say a lot of it's stage time. Most of it's going to be what you build for yourself right now. So you've got 2 Instagram accounts. I would whittle that down into one. You are one thing. You do tattoos, but you also do comedy. Show people everything, because you are going to be the person that matters, that stands out. Leonardo Joni's not going to get her shot. She got her shot a little bit on Kill Tony. That's how she came across our radar with Tower Gang.
Then they banned her from the mothership.
In Austin. And then she had to do her own thing. So you got to build your own thing. I worked with Louis J. Gomez.
Why'd they ban her at the mothership?
For things she said.
For offensive jokes, man. Like,
Yes.
yeah, that's
Just be careful where you're going, because it's not exactly what you think it is. I worked with Louis J. Gomez. I worked for with Gas Digital, Legion of Skanks. I did their artwork. I did all the merchandising, all that stuff. Had discussions with them. He thinks that we were going to swing wildly in one direction. I said, Louis is simply not going that way. It's going another way. And came to a decision where I was going to buy in or out of the company. And I said, I'm not going to buy in, because I think that things are swinging wildly in another direction, the direction that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, they're right. Dude,
And I was correct. But Louis is doing great. They're taking off. They're flying. You got to pay attention to how things are going, but it's going to be about you, what you build, not necessarily where you're at or how many stand-up shows you could do and who's going to let you on stage. You got to do it yourself.
Like, just to put it into perspective, we came here to Ocala. I just moved here. I don't know how long ago. We're building this here.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we're building it. The next Bohemian Grove is going to be at the Joke Joint again. We're already building relationships with
I love
local.
Alex.
Alex
I love
is great.
Alex. I didn't know, like, he's always been nothing but nice to me. And,
No,
and
Alex is great, man. He's awesome.
And I love Alex. He's actually one of the cooler promoters around.
Alex
here.
is never going to tell you, like, you can't say some his stage.
It's also simply not. It was never his call anyway. It was us. You just spoke to the wrong people.
That's
if you
all,
talk to me or to him, you were wrong. But
it's
anyway,
very funny that Alex didn't even, because he's just so
he's clueless.
He's
kind
of chaotic. He's like chaos embodied in his outfits and everything. And he probably didn't even think to tell us. I don't know. He probably thought we were all set in stone. We definitely could have. But you know, we were talking about our archaics before, and this idea that he was like ahead of the curve. And you know, I'm also doing that similar thing where I am going on my victory lap right now. I've been telling my wife, because my wife is scared of the comedy that I've been doing on Twitter and everything. We've gotten doxxed and all kinds of crazy crap, and it scares her. But I'm like, it's going in this direction. Now she sees 100. It, so I have this like air of vindication. But it is, you know, like one of the things Archaics actually commented on my post the other day, and I didn't respond because I'm not trying to have a whole theological argument. For me, Twitter is a place where I say, not where I have debates. And so he says to me, number one, he alludes to this idea that I was watching his content, and that's how I knew that the pendulum was going to swing. And I've never.
We watch too much. We do too much of our own content.
I don't watch anybody's content except for Sam Tripoli and maybe Merkel. But
if you're smart, you could see it. I was just saying 3 years ago, this guy's talking about it. Everything that I researched to his was always accurate. I was like, I don't know, this guy might actually be on.
I hear good things about him. I hear that he crushes.
Just like the metaphysical realm. Like I use the example of my wife, and this is a tangent, but my wife, she was my wife. Yeah,
so
very
stupid.
She was very sick. We used supplements, IV drips, and stuff like that to get her better. Turns out, might have actually been a weird spiritual attack, which we probably could have healed. Yeah. So there's two ways. There's multiple ways to the same solution, conclusion, whatever. Like, this world is fractal. So he's looking at it through this lens, 100% right. I was looking at it a long time ago through a strictly political lens, from like a third-party political lens, and saying, yeah, that's what's going to happen. David said through a conspiratorial lens.
Yeah.
But it's like, everything is pointing at this. All signs
point to yes. But one of the things he said was, because I made a tweet, and I was just posing the question. I said, we watched the left for the past decade. What does extremism look like for the left? It's cutting your off. It's gender reassignment surgery for children. It's open border policy, this kind of crap. What does the extremism look for the right? What is the right going to guide us towards? And,
killing in the name of God.
Exactly. So one of the things he said was, he goes, and I caught what he was saying, so I didn't push back, but I wanted to push back in some little way, which was, he goes, just remember, it wasn't the pagans that were burning women at the stake. And I go, yeah, message received. I wanted to say
just the children.
Yeah, I wanted to say no, it was the pagans that were lobbing heads off at the top of temples to the tunes of tens of thousands when the conquistadors arrived. But what the ever, I get what he's saying. We're gonna get that.
It's used as what I don't appreciate with these types is that they use it as like a hammer against you, when you could easily pick up the same hammer and hit him back. You're like, but it's literally the story of when people take this into their own hands.
But I do go, what percentage of those women were witches? That's what I want to know. I wish it was we didn't know what the net positive was.
Well, I had even heard that it was Satanists, were burning the Christians at the stake, because the Christians were naturopathic. And like, let's take a look at, like, I assume you guys are followers of Jesus of Nazareth, potentially.
Yes.
Okay, so if we look at like dudes like us, like, I grew up in the church, and I stopped. I got into meditation, thousands of hours of meditation. I got into hallucinogens. I got into breath work. My grandmother was born on an Indian reservation. I did years of native ceremonies, and each one was an upgrade in a different way. But it wasn't till my intellectual world was satisfied historically and spiritually through Christ and the millennial reign that I was just like, holy shit, this might become undeniable. And when I look at guys like Jason Bashir, who I have nothing respect for, I love his work. I've spent hundreds of hours digesting his information. I think that potentially knowledge can sometimes cloud your vision. And I'm not saying that he's not accurate about all of his predictions and things like that, because when you go through his charts, a lot of it lines up. But I also believe that I'm, and everybody that I associate with are highly intelligent individuals. We might be wrong on some things sometimes, but when things line up so perfectly, and if we have time, I can go through a lot of it right now on the millennial reign. It's hard for me to deny it, as well as witnessing my wife and knowing when back a couple of years ago, I would meditate and then I would pray, I would ground, I would do breathing exercises. I believed in God. I spoke to the Most High, the Creator. And even I would even sometimes say in Jesus' name, because that was part of it. But I also paid homage to Buddhism, to, you know, Native American, Hawaiian, and all the stuff that I had progressed in spiritually in my life. And I'm not saying those guys are wrong. I've just chosen to follow Christ, right? But I don't remember where I was going with this, but it was a great
Well, you said
rant.
if you had time, so it sounds like you're alluding to, like, throughout your travels, your studies, you've come to the conclusion that we are in the little season. You mentioned the millennial reign of Christ, and that's like undeniable proof about where you now are spiritually. So I want to have that conversation, because I'm not a little seasoner. I've heard a lot of theories about it. Some of the stuff compelling, some of the stuff not so compelling. I'm just not so sure on it. But how do you get there? Apparently you got there before everybody else, because this is fair. It's not that it's new, but it's become popular again recently.
Okay, so as a non-believer 3 years ago, it's probably 3.5 years ago, I stumbled on a few videos on YouTube. And bro, I'm obsessed with learning new things. And the thought that I stumbled across, there was maybe 10, 15 videos on it. And they were all done by believers. And as I said, I grew up in a lot of church as a child till I was 15 years old. And I just looked at the church as scribes and Pharisees and political, and I just didn't agree with it. And I still feel the same way in a big way. But I saw these videos on the millennial reign, and the thought that revelation had already happened blew my mind. And it was the most positive conspiracy I'd ever stumbled across. And it was one of the most fascinating, because I had been trained my whole life that, you know, we're waiting for Christ now, right? So I'm going to give you what I learned back then, was that biggest thing for me was, oh my God, Tartaria is the fall guy for the millennial reign. Holy. And I was like, and in the Bible, there's like an evil place called Tartarus. And I was like, you know, Satan always inverts things, right? Freemasons that inherited Freemasonry. The Catholics built all these Gothic cathedrals. I'm like, yeah, show me where in history a bunch of freaking pedophiles are going to find the time outside of their sick, twisted desires to create monolithic architecture that's the most profound, sacred geometric architecture built in alignment with organic sequences of numbers. Where are they going to find time in between their satanic, child molesting, blood drinking, cult rituals to create things that nobody else in history could create? And then, so when I thought about Tartaria and how it might have been the fall guy for this theory, which is now, it's coming out, bro. You go back and you listen to what I said 3 years ago. And then I said, all these structures are all about Jesus and the saints and the apostles. And this is me as a non-believer stumbling across this stuff. And then I started talking about kymatics and frequencies, and how I always believed the church had no idea what the power of Christ truly was. He was going around healing people with what? The word. It's sound.
Are
Right?
you familiar with the story about the woman who she goes into a cathedral, records the silent sound of the cathedral, plays that recording back, records that, plays that back, and does this 7 times in a loop, puts it on a cymatics plate, and the frequency vibrates the sand into the same pattern that are already on the stained glass of every single window in that cathedral.
I did not know about that, but let me tell you this. I've been talking about this for a while. Salt on a blackboard, cymatic frequencies, does all this. Well, what the is our blood made of? Salt, minerals. That's what salt is. So again, this is my theory, is when, and it came out during the Millennial Reign podcast that I did, how the bells had been removed and how each one of these bells was a different metal, and each metal is a different frequency, and each metal is connected to a different chakra, is connected to a different color, is connected to a different music note, is connected to a different 7 visible planet. And these are aspects of the occult that I find may actually be good, and they may have been stolen from a lot of the Christians back in the day.
Occult just means hidden. So this that little thing behind me there, that's like a rudimentary version of what is a Rife machine.
Yes.
And,
okay.
Yeah. So Matthew Rife was one of our like first sponsors of the show, but his great uncle, right?
Great uncle, yeah.
He was the guy, Royal Raymond Rife, who worked with
Royal
Nikola
Raymond
Tesla.
Rife.
So
Yeah.
they were obviously into this like vibration and frequency technology. One went off into free energy, the other went into, you know, heliopathic healing. Yeah. So I'm a believer in that stuff. We use that for my wife when she was really sick as well. We use frequency healing technology as like a supplementation device. So I'm right there with you.
My wife has these 7 crystal bowls that she plays in the, and it's crazy how it does that. But
it's sad because when you see, like yesterday, I saw somebody with the bowls. They were doing a drum circle, and I'm watching these guys, and the guy's got a Ben and Jerry shirt on with like an alien on it, and I'm just like, because it gets so mixed up. These techniques get mixed up with people who are. It's just kind of goofy.
Well, I think
the New Agers, the New Age movement.
Like the New Age is number one. It's the old age, and number two, it's like. It's really a product of what happens when you strip away fundamental understandings of the spiritual realm from a people, and then you watch them kind of rediscover it, but also their influence one way or another. And then what you can do is you can have a little bit of fun. You can start injecting like sci-fi into the media, and you can allow that to influence them one way or another.
I'm talking to the Pleiadians and Arcturians on the playa at the burn.
I just, you know what I want is like for a lot of these people, it's like,
well, that works, man. Like he's saying, like your wife is with these bowls, like they do something.
That works.
Yeah. So you will get into, you know, there are spiritual principles that you are going to interact with when you do these things, but you don't have an understanding of it. And so it's just like a lot of these people, the ones that are the most lost in the sauce, and maybe I'm just an asshole for this, but I think it just ends up being true over and over again. I didn't even get there yet, dude. Unbelievable. What ends up being over again is the more ungrounded their spiritual concepts are, and they start getting into like really, really, the more they look horrific. They look like
it's true.
Ugly betrays them. They look just terrible. And you go like, if your spiritual pursuits are bearing fruit, why does it look like it's
how old do you think I am?
I
nice
don't know.
Hair, dog.
I got a set of hair on you.
Well,
maybe
you said 30, so you already gave it away. If you've been tattooing for 30 years, I assume that you're close.
I'm 50.
Look good.
Years
You look
old,
good for 50, dude.
right?
Solid.
Yeah, everybody thinks I'm in my late 30s.
That's what I was gonna say. If you didn't say that, I was gonna say like 38, 39.
Yeah, I'd say
That's what
around our
everybody
age.
thinks. Yeah, and you're talking about sound frequencies, and how I was talking about the bells and how each metal was different, and it probably hummed a different frequency and tune. So at the time when I did the Millennial Reign podcast 3 years ago, I had thought about the symbol for Philadelphia, the Liberty Bell. And what's one thing that you notice about that bell?
It's cracked.
Boom.
And
so
half
in
of
my
Philadelphia is on
interpretation,
crack.
there you go. And in my interpretation, that was these Satanists virtue signaling that they broke the frequency of God and, or in my opinion, Christ. And in the last year of, because I went away from the Millennial Reign thing shortly after I got off the podcast and focused solely on comedy. But I want to say 9 months ago, I started getting into it, and I was like, oh, these guys are like going deeper than I went. But a lot of them didn't talk about how Christ wasn't a carpenter. He was a tectone or an architectone, which means master builder. I talked about how I think Christ went all over the world. There's Asiatic temples that claim that they met Christ and he brought his teachings to them and they love him. And you guys can look all this stuff. The story of Tiki Viracocha in Peru and Machu Picchu. And you find out that Tiki walked across water, that he made mountains melt, which is in the book of Revelation, that he talked about love and healing, that he had a group of helpers with him, that he had a long hair and a beard and robes. And when we look at the remnants of potential architecture all over the world, and I was in Europe. I went to 4 countries last month, and I've walked through these cathedrals and I've seen this architecture, and I think there's definitive different periods for this architecture. I think the huts and the teepees are pre-diluvian or post-diluvian. It's after the flood. They lost the knowledge. I think the pyramids are fallen angel architecture. I think the Roman architecture is Nephilim, Raphaim architecture. And I think the Gothic era is Millennial Reign, which is the Dark Ages, which of course they always invert everything. So if it was the Dark Ages, it was probably the Age of Light. But 3 years ago, I was like, well, how long did the Dark Ages last? When I found out it was 1,000 years, I was like, dude, it just keeps getting deeper and deeper with this Millennial Reign thing. Then I found out a third of the moon would go dark. And then I looked up at the full moon and a third of it's dark, that mountains would melt. And then I saw these pictures of melted mountains and castles all over the world. And now these guys are talking about how I didn't even know that Rome and Jerusalem fell in 70 AD. And that's provable. It happened. So that was 70 years after the crucifixion of Christ. They're talking about Caesar Nero, who was murdering all the Christians. That's provable too, that he was the beast. They talk about the beast in Revelation, 7 heads and 10 horns. Well, Rome was a city of 10 hills and 10 kingdoms. So the whore of Babylon was Jerusalem, suckling off the teat of the beast, which was Rome. That fell. They fell. Then this was a nail in the coffin. I mean, I was already all in on the Millennial Reign before I found this, because there's just too much that lined up historically, like 1,000 years during the Dark Ages. And it's all Jesus, apostle architecture. And it's the most intricate of all the architecture. Supersedes the pyramids, supersedes Roman architecture. The Gothic architecture, unbelievable. There's nothing like it. And
That is true, right? If you look at the Gothic architecture, it's like, I can get behind the idea of like megalithic stones and you're like, how did they move and everything? But if you look at Gothic architecture, it's so beautiful and so intricate, and we can't replicate it at all. I mean,
it's
the
otherworldly.
That also has it
we're supposed to believe that, like, see this. It's not that I whatever. We're supposed to believe that these people were struggling to figure out what they were going to eat.
Yeah, there's pandemics and wars, and these guys are somehow building sacred architecture that shoots out resonant vibrations to fractalize and heal our bodies through our blood.
Even in comparison to Greek architecture, it's still more beautiful.
Way better. I was just in Rome 2 weeks ago. walking through these cathedrals that are after Rome, totally different vibe, bro.
Greece had a way with like statues that was really remarkable, but I still don't think it's anything in comparison to these Gothic cathedrals. And the other thing that the Millennial Reign does have going for it is this. I've been trying to find somebody. It just turns out that like a couple of the guys that I'm looking at, they have like bad mics, and I'm waiting for them. Like, can you get a better mic? But it's like dudes that do like meltology, right? And so there's two versions of it. Number one is just all of the very strange melted looking buildings and mountains across the planet. And I'm seeing them going, that's bizarre. And the other thing is this red brick phenomenon, where it's like within things that it looks like there was an effort to cover up red bricks. There's like chunks of mountain that when you look at it, you're like, why is there red brick embedded in the walls of this mountain?
Oh, that's in China. I've seen
the red brick carries frequencies. It's one of the few stones that can actually create electromagnetic currents.
So how the hell did it get in a mountain?
That's what
melted.
It
got melted.
That it was literally melted. Like I'm looking at
where does it talk about melting in the Book of Revelation?
Yeah.
Right. And so, I'm trying to think, like, what do you guys have any questions about the Millennial Reign, or am I rambling succinct enough?
No,
because I'm about to get even deeper with it.
Well, some of my holdups on it are it says in the Book of Revelation, all of the mountains will be flattened, and I'm like, all right, I believe the Bible. It says that. There's also the question of if Jesus comes. It doesn't mention that he's going to leave. It just says that
Satan will be loose, but it doesn't say and Jesus will then leave.
Yeah, and then he'll go somewhere and then come back.
Satan loosed. This is a good topic because a lot
he's loose for sure.
Yes. So the Dark Ages ends, and then shortly after, you have the Illuminati appear, 1776, the spirit of 76. Mm-hmm. There's theories going around, could be demon erasers, JT follow JC, Paul Stobbs, because these are the new guys that I when I came back, I started listening to these guys. And I was like, oh, these guys are on it. They're what's the other guy? Jason, maybe is his name. I don't remember. He's really good.
We just had Brian in studio.
Yeah, and all those guys.
He's
Paul
awesome.
Stobbs was an early appearance on the show, and these are all friends of the shows.
When I did my Millennial Reign podcast 3 years ago, I wound up with another guy who doesn't podcast anymore, and he was a hardcore believer. His name was Todd Emanuel, and he did this thing called the Godcast. And I have no doubt that this guy was touched by God, and he was a really good guy, and he did a lot of stuff on the Millennial Reign, and I don't even think you can find it anymore, but it was amazing.
You know what's weird? I just want to say this. I don't know if you've been aware of this because you know you're not like on Twitter like that, and
I need to get on. My wife keeps telling me to get on.
Dude,
I mean, well, you have to. You might have to, but it's a health.
Yeah. So all these guys, JT follows JC. Great guy, great researcher. Paul Stobbs of Understanding Conspiracy, great guy, great researcher. Brian of Demon Erasers, great guy, great researcher.
They were not little seasoned guys.
No. Paul was like, he was doing other things before, but they all kind of like started pooling research together and looking at this thing together and going, I think there's something here, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The community of like little seasoners.
I'll show you a shirt I made.
Hate these three guys now.
They do?
They hate them. All they do is speculate because they're all like, I don't know, like straight up psychopaths who they don't have a voice of their own. So they look up to like some content creator who's got the balls to go out and do the research publicly. And then when they say something that's out of alignment with what they think, they immediately go shill, fed, infiltrator. Yeah. They've come here to missteer the community and all this. We have this shirt. It's very funny. Little Seasoners.
Satan's last deception.
Hey, if anybody... If anybody says me or my wife are connected to secret societies or anything,
they're going to.
There you go, right there, dude. Come on, you think I'm walking around ruthless and toothless? Yeah. I'm walking around missing teeth. Don't have the money for implants. It's like, That's what I'm saying. A lot of these based Gen Z conspiracy theories are annoying. The occult has been running the same operation for centuries. And you stay on that path because that's what they do. They do it in a specific way. That's why as soon as Charlie Kirk died, I was like, got him. CIA, JFK operation, same style, right in the...
Yeah.
There's going to be a patsy, and there was...
There's multiple patsies. Yeah. But I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I'm just saying if it seems like I'm distasteful of the little season, it's because of simply because of the people who follow it.
It's the people that like I watch this community eat
their own
researchers, not just because they're not their own. These people don't. JT doesn't belong to them. Paul doesn't belong to them. Brian doesn't belong. These are just guys that are out there doing the legwork, doing research. They have their own ideas.
Jason Jack is
sense.
Another one. He's incredible.
What's his name?
Jason Jack.
We'll look into him, but it's weird. This community of people, it's made it so that I don't even like touching the subject, because then what you find is that there's like these endless threads of psychopaths accusing you of all kinds of, and then they're going out of their way, and it's like that's not bad, right? I don't care when they do that. What I care about is when they mobilize and they head to your like Apple Podcast review section, and they start doing, and I'm like, dude, come on, man! Like we're
like what's Nick Fuentes has got, grifters or groypers?
Groypers, yeah. Don't piss
like
those
guys
off, because they'll mobilize too, and they'll come and tank your. So it's just these people. I just thought you might find that interesting, because I love those dudes. I love
they're separate, but they're separate from the conversation of which I do find it very interesting, because there's a lot of compelling evidence. It's just like you're not helping. They're not helping the cause at all. When I see them, I go, don't believe it.
You know what's so funny though is they go, you don't talk about it, and then when you talk about it, they're like, shill, grifter, you're a fed, and I'm like, you know what, man, just can't
it's like,
even. It's so frustrating. But I mean, that whole meltology thing in particular is something that I've been wanting to go down for a while, and I've just not found, because there's guys that like have their entire channels dedicated to it, and I would love to just sit down and go through, because you'd have a really hard time dealing with this. It's like, what the hell happened where there's all these structures across all these continents, and they're separated by oceans, and you look at it and you go, that is melted, homie. That is,
it's every continent. And just like we have the same architecture on every continent, how come all the pyramids have glyphs in them of fallen angels, the gods, the titans, the Jotnar, it's always, look at it, it's always it's chimeras, human animal hybrids, giants,
every time, same thing every time
in the global pyramids. It's always that. Then you have the Roman architecture with gigantic doorways. Well, that's Nephilim architecture, Raphaim architecture. Then you have Gothic architecture, which is divine and built for healing. The pipe organs were supposedly supposed to heal your organs. And we were saying, well, all the mountains were supposed to fall. Well, let's take into consideration that it's undeniable that some of these mountains were tree stumps. Undeniable.
Dude.
That every religion and spiritual teaching across the world, the indigenous people all talked about gigantic trees and trees of life. All of them. So the mountains we have now pale in comparison to probably what once was. And perhaps these mountains that look all smooth and veiny, maybe that is melted mountain right there. That's what's left, right? Because if we're on a flat plane, which I believe is probably an eternal flat plane, and there's just domes over certain sections. We're just different. We're different. What is it? The extraterrestrial, outer space, not upper space, right? So is it possible that there's just certain areas with cups over it on an eternal plane where people aren't allowed to go, and then there's tunnels that go underneath there by certain, because we know the tunnel systems are everywhere, right? So
that actually makes a lot of sense with the tunnels.
And then if you look at some of the mountains where you're like, that looks like a giant laying down. You ever see that? Or like it looks like, and you go like, okay, well, maybe the mountains were flattened, and then those are just like petrified giants.
I lived on Kauai in Maui, there was a mountain called Sleeping Giant that looked like a giant's face. No.
I don't know, like, you know, there are a lot of things, you know, definitely the idea that they told us it was the Dark Ages, and it's like, clearly not. Clearly that's not what was happening. And then
come on, bro. In the 1800s, they had electric cars and Zeppelins and all this alternating current and hydroelectricity. How many years did they have that, dude?
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you put these buildings together if I'm having a hard time putting this together with a skill saw and a nail gun?
And it also, you know, just to give the little season its due, becomes very hard to explain that idea that we were ever more advanced. Like it becomes hard to explain it biblically.
Well, I mean, biblically, if you read the Bible, like we're doing a Bible study for the book of Daniel, some of the technology that they're describing there seems a little bit more advanced than what we're doing now. Like that.
Oh, for sure.
Nebuchadnezzar, this is very fun, but very simple. Didn't like this dude. He's like, I'm going to cover your entire house and
I'm going to reduce your house to
how'd you do that? With a payload
advanced
or something?
Technology, pinnacle of technology, right?
How
there.
hard? If you wanted to cover, exactly, you want to cover my house and it's going to be a problem.
Alchemically turning your house to
something. Yeah, it's like this is a task. You need to.
Yeah.
You know how long it would take?
I mean, you know, that whole giant tree.
Where are you sourcing the?
What is it? The Devil's
Tower.
Devil's
Tower. Yeah.
Like, dude,
that's just one of them.
That looks like a gigantic tree that was lobbed
big
up.
Flat one, right?
Dude, a lot of them have rings.
They have rings, dude. Yeah,
and it's not
that's
just Devil's Tower. It's multiple of them have rings.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean,
Trees
Devil's
alive.
Towers. That is interesting. So, here we go. This image of the Devil's Tower just totally looks like a giant.
Come on, dude.
Yeah.
Petrified tree stump. And what I had heard is the trees were cut down by the angels during the rapture, which is another thing which is why I want to get into this too. Is so 800 years after God creates the Garden of Eden, he decides the world's so wicked, I'm going to destroy it all with a flood, right? But then he sends his son here, Christ, and they murder Christ, but we're just waiting here 2,000 years later and nothing has happened. I mean, does that make sense? Does that really make sense? 2,000 years and nothing has happened? I mean,
on the timeline, what you're describing, like intense wickedness, that's more than double the time to wait. What do you make of today's date? Are you aware?
Yeah, it's
okay. I'll tell you what
the
I
Rapture
think.
Eve.
So, and then eventually we're going to have to get into for me, which is the nail in the coffin for the millennial reign. I think that we're probably in between the year 12 and 1400. I'm sure Jason Brashears would argue about all that. That's fine. I know he was a believer. But again, I feel like we can get lost in our own wisdom. I mean, the book of knowledge or the tree of knowledge and
I feel like your own understanding.
Sometimes wisdom is deceptive, dude. I think it's pride, out of control pride sometimes. And I've been guilty of it. We've all been guilty of it. Thinking we know more, and then later we get humbled. And as I've gotten older, it's been less that I get humbled from things I say, because as I'm telling you guys this, I don't know for sure, bro. This is what I feel intuitively inside my spirit. And I've been so accurate so many times over the last 25 years with conspiracies. When I feel them and they blow up in my stomach, that's just this. And I've got Christians saying, you're a new believer, you're this. I was like, well, you forgot that I grew up in a church for 15 years of my life, and that I've been praying to God this whole time and meditating. And it does tell you to meditate in the Bible 90 times. And you guys don't talk about that. And you guys are all going to church all the time. And to me, those are just modern day scribes and Pharisees. All the churches, you got to get degrees to go there. They're all tax free. If you talk about certain things in your if you don't talk about certain things in churches, guess what? You lose your tax-free exemption. So again, to me, they're scribes and Pharisees. 90% of them are all backing up and most of them don't even know that fell was a cursed nation, that the tribe of Judah is the is the tribe that repented multiple times over, that's where David came from, that's where Jesus came from, that the Star of David is the Star of Renfam, which is demonic, and it goes back to all this fallen angel worship again. But the church will stick up for all the time. And it's like, oh, those are God's chosen people. Dude, their God is Lucifer, dude. And that's why they wear the black cube on their head and the mark on their head and the mark on their wrist, dude. They're the children of Renfam, dude. And most Christians don't know that. And if they talk about like this in their church, they'll lose their tax exemption status. The reason why the millennial reign, the nail in the coffin, and I could go into a million other things if you guys have questions about it, is what I didn't know as somebody who already believed the millennial reign is there's several pieces of scripture in Christ's own word that tell him, I'll be back in your generation. The kingdom of heaven is upon you. And not only did I read a bunch of that in this book, I started going through and highlighting in my own Bible about, wow, this almost seems like a millennial reign scripture right here. And when you bring this up to futurist people, they're, oh, well, I don't know. He didn't make, he got it wrong and this and that. And I'm like, so am I going to trust the temple with the scribes and Pharisees, or am I going to trust the Messiah in his own word? And it's like, I'm going to trust the Messiah, dude. And not only that, I'm going to trust the history stuff that we see now. I'm going to trust the fact that there's melted mountains everywhere. I'm going to trust the fact that we've been lied to on every level. And the Bible told us that Satan would enter the temples and the churches. I'm going to trust the fact that they took all the bells out, that we can't explain how Gothic architecture was created, and that all that architecture is definitively connected to Christ and his apostles. And I'm going to trust my own intuition. And I'm going to trust why hasn't anything happened? What's that?
What scripture did you find that you think confirmed it?
Well, there's a few. You have Matthew 10:23. But when they persecute you in the city, flee ye into another. For verily I say unto you, ye shall not have gone over the cities of till the Son of Man be come. Verily I say unto you, there be some standing, this is Matthew 16:28, which shall not taste death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom.
How do people generally explain that one, right? Because I've seen that before, and that seems pretty hard to get around, this idea that there are some of you who will not taste death. And it's like, okay, well, that's specifically talking about within the individual's lifetime.
I don't know. I've heard a few things. I don't remember because my attention focuses on what the proof, not the doubters. Because, I mean, if the tribe of who was embedded in the word of the Old Testament didn't see their Messiah when he came, why would the church pay attention to a lot of the things that's happening now? It's like, and there's so many more people that don't believe that Christ came, that are waiting for Christ to come again and for the rapture to happen. And yet the Bible talks about over and over again how the people, the believers will be few. And, you have Luke 9:27, but I tell you of a truth, there be some standing here which shall not taste death till they see the kingdom of God. How do you explain that stuff? How do you explain that Rome and Jerusalem fell in 70 AD, 40 years after the crucifixion of Christ, and that 40 days and 40 years are constant, repetitious biblical numbers? They just keep coming up. It must just be the greatest coincidence known to man.
We're in such a great Let me tell you, man, we're in such a great timeline because what is that? The return of Jesus and where we are now in the biblical timeline by
Who's that by?
Sorry, by doesn't say who. For some reason, I don't think he wanted his career destroyed.
Interesting.
But I'm going to try and find some of the stuff that I outlined myself.
I guess we'll say it here. But today also is the day that our boy
Rapture Eve.
Well, Ed Mabry. Well, don't bury the lead.
Oh,
Ed
sorry.
Mabry is going to be on Merkel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Discussing this. Ed has written books for the Orthodox timeline of the Book of Revelation against the little season. So he's actually going to be there debating that
that's
today.
Interesting. That's interesting that we should be having this conversation today.
Having this conversation on the day when the rapture is supposed to happen. I don't know if you know this, Jeremy.
I heard about this. I don't ever pay attention to any of that because I know the Bible says you don't know when the kingdom is coming. You guys have, I don't know if you guys have followed a lot of these things, but a lot of these guys, this is really important to say too. I'm going to just read what I outlined. Children, I didn't hear this from anyone else. This is me doing the own research myself. John 1:18. Children, time is just about up. You heard that Antichrist is coming. Well, they're all over the place. Antichrist everywhere you look. That's how we know we are close to the end. This is the book right before Revelation. Where do I think Christ is? I think the theories that he may be in the North Pole are pretty interesting. And this was something that I tied together. The Northern Lights, which they say are the colors of his throne. I was like, okay, so the Northern Lights, well, what is God's covenant? The rainbow. The Northern Lights look like a rainbow in the sky. Wouldn't they connect? Why wouldn't they connect that to his son? You know what I mean? If the rainbow is God's covenant.
So what the hell's he doing there then? It's getting pretty stressful over here.
Hey, short season. Here you go. What did Lucifer deceive the world with World War I, World War II, on the precipice of World War III, 9/11, COVID? I mean, these are all just satanic deceptions. Globalism's already here. We know that. It's not done. The second Tower of Babel is already here. It's just we're in this repeating loop of short season deception, Satan's deception all over the world. None of the wars are for what they say they are. It was the biggest show ever. I believe that they were spraying snake on us because all the symptoms I had from the Delta variant were all symptoms you get from snake.
That's interesting.
Snail specifically.
Let me ask you this. So if you think we're between 1200 and 1400, what do you think is next in this timeline? What, because we're all looking for, like, right now they're doing all this kind of like rapture stuff. And to be honest, if I believed that the rapture was going to be tomorrow, I probably wouldn't be here doing this.
No.
Right. So, now I recognize that is interesting. They're setting up, this idea. And I also recognize that it's a great deception to confuse us about where we are in the biblical timeline. Admittedly, if it wasn't for the people, there's a lot of things going for it. That being said, where then are we and what do you expect to be coming?
So this is the most inorganic, globally, politically, secret societally orchestrated false apocalypse ever. Food shortages, scamdemics,
it is the
wars and rumors of wars. Dude, I was talking about this LGTB 10 years ago in Hawaii, and I said this is all from food and the next thing that's going to
Tylenol. What are you?
That's right. Yeah, it's Tylenol now. That's ridiculous.
Did you see this? Are you not on Twitter? So
I had a headache. Yeah. I sucked it, and it all went away.
Now they're saying that Tylenol is responsible for the
Donald Trump specifically, like, we're gonna release big news on Monday.
Big news. It's the biggest
big news that it's Tylenol. It's making
Tylenol. The deep state. They're coming for you. They're gonna your kids.
It's gonna be great.
They're saying that it's Tylenol is responsible for autism, which is, okay,
Just
not
the gayest timeline ever.
It
Like,
is.
guys, be serious.
So to his point, it is the gayest apocalypse, and that's disheartening. Because I thought my
That's what
apocalypse
I'm
would be a
saying.
little bit cooler.
It's the fakest apocalypse. The behind it. Food processing plants burning down.
Yeah.
Bloody rivers. Like which scumbag poured dye into the rivers? Oh, this is gonna happen. The third temple has to be built. Like, dude, give me a break. Every time Jesus showed up to a temple, he was banging on people. Jesus was the final, because he knew. And this is why the Italians and the Jays run so close together, because the Catholic Church has confessions and the Jays have blood sacrifices. So they think they can do whatever the they want and then abolish themselves of sin through men and horrific sacrifices. And I tell people like, and this, I could catch a lot of heat for this, is, dude, why the would you be a Catholic, dude? The history of pedophilia, all those saints are fallen angels. It's provable. Mary in the Catholic Church might be Ishtar.
Might be.
Semiramis, or
I
you know what I
had the
mean? Like,
conversation, not really the conversation, but I made that joke. One of our favorite Catholics said something to me about joining mass, and I said, did the Queen of Heaven tell you that?
Same girl. Actually, shout out again to Paranoid Radio. He's sending another banger our way, the White Rabbit. I just gave him the information.
Oh yeah, I had White Rabbit on my podcast like 5 years ago.
Yeah, we just linked up with him or something.
He did a little struggle session with our favorite Catholic and kind of
did
got
he really?
Her. Oh yeah, I was watching the clip and I was like,
oh, they went on, they did each other's show or something like that.
I don't know.
That's
talking
fun.
about Mary. He's like, why are you worshiping Mary? Kind of sus.
Like the difference between veneration and worship.
Like, don't do that. It's very confusing.
I'll tell you what I do think, though, which I think is really weird, is the Bible is vehemently against homosexuality.
These
I don't,
gay niggas.
I don't
sorry,
care.
I'm sorry.
In my personal opinion, I don't care as long as you leave children and animals alone and you don't rape people. I don't care. That's probably one of my biggest gripes is, do I like this LGBT? No, it's a death cult. Pride comes before the fall. It's a magic ritual. Pride is one of the 7 deadly sins. This is clearly, they steal God's covenant and they call it pride. It's clearly a magic ritual is what it is. But I don't got a problem.
Pastor Rick went off yesterday.
Pastor Rick, shout out Pastor Rick. He went hard in the paint on the.
Yeah, but it's right. But the question then is like, how much of this leads into the next thing? You know, which is, I understand the tolerance for it, which I had before.
Are you saying that butt sex is a slippery slope?
I think you should dress a little bit less.
I mean, maybe there's a strong argument for it.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, David.
As anti-homophobic, as the Bible appears to be, why would God just be man? It'd be male energy. And I get, we have the semen, which leads to procreation. But did God, like, my thing is like, did God create the earth so he could have a companion, just like he created Eve for Adam? Like, because if we see around us at all time, and I always say God's law is natural law. There's laws in nature, which if you don't have a Bible, you have to follow natural law. When you violate natural law, it happens, right? People can say, well, nature is violent, this and that. Yeah, but it's always in a pattern that it's violent.
This is a crazy, almost heretical thought that I'm sure people won't like me saying, but we discussed yesterday with Matt, God created the earth, but it doesn't mention the creation of the waters, which is this like a chaotic primordial force. And when you're talking about the
water is feminine.
Yes, when you're talking about feminine, you're talking about chaos in a way.
Yes.
When you're talking 100%. About masculine, you're talking about order. So these two things work together. I don't know where I even put these ideas of, if it's not mentioned that God created the waters, that these waters just existed, and then God created the moon and the sun and the land. And
it's interesting because in the Orphic egg thing, like the Orphic egg always emerges out of the chaotic primordial water.
Yeah. So what is that water? I just had
a thought. So what do we see in Washington, D.C. and all over the planet? Obelisks over what? Water.
Oh, that's interesting.
What is the
Owners
obelisk?
and
It's
water.
the phallus.
Mm-hmm.
It's always over water, right?
That is
So
interesting.
I think naturally God has to have feminine energy because we always need positive and negative charge. There has to be something feminine. And when you look back at the history of a lot of these churches, we know the popes rewrote the Bible, the kings and all that. It's like we're ruled by a death cult. So why wouldn't they destroy the feminine aspects in the Bible and send that to the guys? They're trying to divide the sexes, but the people that really get the message is like husbands and wives. We submit to one another. Husbands need respect, wives need love, and that's how we have healthy marriages and healthy relationships, right? But the death cult, which is in Islam, it's in Judaism, it's in Christianity, it's in Catholicism, it's everywhere, right? They take the divine feminine, which I want to know, where was that removed? Is it in the book of Enoch? Is it in the Apocrypha? Is it in the Dead Sea Scrolls? Is there there has to be a divine feminine. I don't believe the Catholic Church has given it to us, but there has to be one.
Every time I've read about it or it's been mentioned, it's always in a malevolent fashion.
Yes, it's like the ones that are most outright with it are going to be witches,
Semiramis,
Wiccan,
Ishtar.
Yeah. Well, because you're getting the
what's her
bad
name?
version of it, right? What's the worst
Lilith.
version of feminine energy is like it's chaos and it's the Oedipal mother. It's like these really toxic archetypes.
Whorish.
But there are toxic whorish. Yeah, there are toxic archetypes for male, which is the
violence,
the violence, rage, these kind of things. And so
these are all things,
destruction.
but these are all things that
Yes.
are embodied. God does those things too.
Right.
But then he's also like the patient father.
Right. So where is like the loving mother? Well, apparently that's Mary, and how dare you?
Well,
Which
shout out
is
Emily.
so dude, which is why I'm like, dude, is the Gaia thing far off? Mother Earth, is that far off? And I want to know, because I believe there's mystical aspects that have been removed from our Bible intentionally by a death cult that is clearly trying to run the world. They're trying to invert sexuality everywhere. They're trying to invert education, invert food, invert medicine. They're inverting everything. What is the divine feminine? Is it the Mother Earth? It must be somewhere.
Well, I
That's
would
why
admit
I
that
try to
it's
be
a clever
too-
deception to remove it. If you remove it, it really, really, really confuses us.
Yeah.
Because there's positives and negatives to both masculine and feminine, right?
Correct. Yeah.
The positive is dudes like us intellectualizing things, not because we like sucking our own dicks, even though that feels wonderful, but because we're trying to bring some sort of truth. Because above love in the Bible is truth, right? Truth is eternal. Love is an emotion. It's it's fleeting. It's all over, right? But
Right.
Truth is eternal. And lies, and here we go. We're watching it in real time. Lies, I've been saying it for years. Lies last a lifetime. Well, what's happening to the lifetime of right now? The lie is coming out. The truth is eternal.
Yeah. It's going to be a really interesting thing to see where this whole thing turns towards. I think that what we talked about at the top of the show, this idea that everybody is going to turn towards, obviously is prophetic, and where we are in the biblical timeline is up for debate. But it seems like right now they are gearing, and that's interesting too, because you could then orchestrate an additional layer of belief of where we are incorrectly in the biblical timeline if we believe we're at the point where everybody turns on it. If they orchestrated the fact that
They
everybody's
want
going to
it.
turn on it, that would really kind of screw us up more.
Needs
Not
to
your,
go
not
that
your
way.
average Jew, but
No,
Israel,
not your average Jew.
yeah.
Not
the
your pickle
scumbags at
maker.
the top. They want it. They want the goyim. They think they're going to defeat us.
Well, let me ask you that, Jeremy. Do you think that only adds to tricking us to believing we're in a different part of Revelation, let's say, if they can create a scenario where the world turns on?
Well, if you can keep everybody under this this notion that the mark of the beast is coming here and there. It's Neuralink. It's this, it's that, it's Palantir. It's, the mark of the beast is everywhere, right? It's going to happen, right? If we can, just keep people believing that that's going to come, we're stranded in this different timeline. It's like I said, bro, like 800 years after creation, it all gets destroyed. But 2,000 years after the murder of God in the flesh, we're still here. We're waiting. No, we don't know. It could happen next week, might happen 1,000 years from now. I'm like, no, I don't believe that. I think that, and I don't know deep enough about biblical theology. I know what I know, right? So I'm sure there must be explanations for why we're here. I had heard something about reincarnation, or the 140,000 or certain people that were there in the times of Christ being reincarnated back on earth before the final battle in Revelation, before Christ and the camp of saints return. I don't know enough about that to say that to people. All I know is I believe through historical data and through biblical data that, and Christ's own words, that we're here, that it's the short season, that we are constantly being deceived by the seed of the serpent, by the children of Satan, by these secret societies, and you see it everywhere. And is Christ the consciousness that needs to enter the people to be the actual return? Is Lucifer the consciousness that needs to enter the people to create the final battle? Because I don't think Christ is coming back in the flesh after what happened to him last time. He may return as his children wake up. Because, look at this. You have the tribe of constantly over and over and over again getting forgiven and saved, forgiven and saved, forgiven and saved, forgiven and saved. And then finally Christ shows up and he's like, dude, you guys are idiots. The Goyim are going to receive my teachings better than you. He's prophesying to a Canaanite woman at the well, the dog-faced people, the Canaanites, who was never allowed to accept his teachings. I even think somewhere in the Bible, Christ said something like, I do not give my teachings to dogs. So why would he say that? Because the lion-faced and the leopard-faced and the cat and dog-faced people were probably real, right? I mean, they're all over the pyramids everywhere. I think, what was his name? Saint Christopher was also a dog-faced person.
Right.
Chimera.
Yeah.
So, holy, this is what happens when you turn 50.
He lost it. He's 50. He's 50. You know what? You know what?
15,
I don't.
but I'm actually 50.
We can keep going. Oh, we have another show in like 20 minutes, but
Yeah, you got it, buddy.
we got it. I would love to have you back on. I mean,
I'd like to
maybe
meet you
before
guys in
go.
person. And like I said, I'm leaving in 2 months. If we can line it up before I go, I'm going to be really busy next month, but I'll make an escape date or whenever, if you guys have time, we could do it
We
again
should bring
in
him by
person.
the coffee shop.
Oh, that would be great.
That would be cool.
I'll bring my
yeah.
wife too. My wife is a character. She's awesome. She's got a bunch
That's
of
all.
good
We
stuff
would love
too.
to do that. My wife. We'd love to do that.
My
We have a coffee
wife.
shop that we go to. Our buddy Matt, who does a Bible study with us, he has a coffee shop with a Christian library.
I do
in the
Bible
back.
studies. I don't go to church. I will do Bible studies.
Well, this is a cool place. You'll enjoy this. He's got a whole Christian library in the back, and it's a really dope spot. It's over here in I guess is this technically Ocala?
Summerfield. He's more closer to Summerfield.
Summer,
yeah.
Summerfield, yeah. So we'll have to meet up in person. But before we bring it in for a landing, let everybody know where they can find you, Jeremy.
You can find me on Instagram at Jeremy Lifsey Comedy and Jeremy Lifsey Tattoo. I'm on Facebook at Jeremy Lifsey. My old podcast, a lot of my ideas have changed over the years, but it was Esoteric Gladiator. And I tried to give props to a lot of the people that I got a lot of the information from the Millennial reign. There was a lot of books that I forgot to mention. I don't remember them offhand. But the
before you
BIBLE,
leave.
Jesus' own words are good enough for me. You know, I'd say that I'm going to trust the temple or I'm going to trust the Messiah, and I'm going to trust the Messiah.
I hear that. Yeah, man, I have to maybe drop in the shop and get a tattoo before you escape off to Austin.
Oh, yeah.
If you guys are
These are
still
my
in
drawings
operation.
and paintings in the background right here.
Super dope. Great work, man. Really awesome work.
I like the work. I don't have any tattoos, but
you have to get a Nephilim Death Squad tattoo.
I'm conflicted.
I'm gonna get one. I'm getting.
I don't know anything.
I think I like the show.
I changed my mind so much that I'm like, well, I want this on my body.
Oh, here's this shirt that I did that you guys might like. The Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord. I like that one. That
heavy
dope.
metal version.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Oh, I want to mention my T-shirt.
Yeah, go for it.
Website too. It's crazy8designart.com. Crazy8designart.com.
Awesome, guys. Go check out Jeremy's work. Jeremy,
I have
we'll
like
have you
50
back on and we'll
different
have to link
shirts on
up.
there.
Awesome. All right, I guess that's it. Let's. Do you want to bring it in for a
Let's
landing?
wrap it up, guys. A great episode, dude.
Jeremy,
thank you for
Praise
coming on.
the Lord.
Sorry,
brother. Praise the Lord, baby.
Sorry for rescheduling you.
This
was.
I'm glad we
I
got
wish
fun,
I would have
though,
known
yeah.
you guys were so close. I would have came and visited you today.
Well, we
It's
still
my
got
day
2 months.
off.
We can still be friends for 2 months before.
But
you
then
guys
after the
run
2
off.
months, we're done.
We can't be
We're
friends
done.
anymore. You're gonna be in Austin. Yeah, that's it.
Guys, we'll see you in a couple minutes. Don't forget to obey, submit, and comply. See you.
The greatest hypnotist on planet Earth is a oblong box in the corner of the room. It is constantly telling us what to believe is real.
You can persuade people that what they see with their eyes is what there is to see. You can't. Because they'll laugh in the face of an explanation.